we are back for another episode with the one and only Phil Norman from Ghost, a man that I muchly admire. We've met quite a few times, trained together quite a few times and things like that. Big respect for him. So thank you, Phil, for taking the time out. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And you've done a few of these now, haven't you?
Yeah. So it all started during the lockdown period when it was like, well, I may as well get some interviews going via Zoom and things. So yeah, it's been really interesting, really cool to talk to people like Bob and yourself and, you know,
Awesome.
yeah, it's been really, really cool. So I guess we just start at the start then of how you got kicking and punching with martial arts and how you all began it all then.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, it's a Bruce Lee fan when I was a kid, and again, you know, I'm an old man now. So back then, there was no like, you know, the social media and all that. You know, there was a very big mysticism behind like the martial arts because you couldn't really get to it. You know, it was all kind of like in books or, you know, and I think like Enter the Dragon was like a triple X film, so you couldn't even watch it. You saw the picture on the video cover, or sorry, on posters and things like that with Bruce Lee. So yeah, obviously interested. Kind of started off in the kung fu, just after I kind of left school, and then from there went into caught up with Guro Dan Inosanto, and then just fell in love with that whole side of it and his umbrella of martial arts, if you like, that goes off out through the Inosanto Academy. So yeah, through and that was where I was. So sort of here, 87, I think, up at Nino Bernardo's in London, Stoke Newton Green. Me and my training partner, Colin Sherrod, we went up there, and it was in the evenings that they ran it. So it was, I think even like I didn't know this, but I think sure Bob Breen probably had him at the weekend. Like he was, but it was evening, so we went up and just kind of crashed in these dodgy B&Bs, and then we trained there. But then what was really cool, because the seminar was just like, you had to understand also, like, so I was from Kung Fu, and we were like we'd been horse dance for like 2 years or something like that. No disrespect, you know, like it was a very traditional. That was pretty disrespectful. It was a very traditional kind of way of teaching. Instant matches, you learn a new technique every 6 months or something. It was like that. And then when we went on this Guro Dan seminar, it was like every 30 seconds there was a variation. It's like my brain just blew up from okay, now we do this, now we do this, and then I was like, what? So that was that kind of big impact there. And then thankfully for us, because it would have all gone completely like when you go to see Guro Dan, it all goes over your head anyway. You know, if you've not done that kind of stuff before, because he's just such an incredible martial artist that gets kind of, you know, really, like, even when he goes, I've been told to slow down, and then it's boom, 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 boom. You can see he's so excited about what he teaches and so passionate about what he teaches. But luckily for us, Nino Bernardo would invite us in during the day and would go over what was done the evening before. So we kind of got extra training in there, and that kind of embedded it a little bit for us. And then from there, when we said to Guro, what do we do now? We said, well, you know, we're in California, come over. And so we did. And then that was that.
Amazing. What was it like to travel over to California then?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it was good. They were so, I mean, we were kids, like 18, 19, so we couldn't even go into pubs to get drinks. we had this place called the Red Onion, and we were always on a budget. Okay, so we slept like we didn't have any proper jobs or anything. We just started working nightclubs and you know, we were passing. So we were working nightclubs, and then we could just save some money, and we were training all day, and then we just take off to the Inosanto when we had a little money, and then we'd just sleep on the floor of the Inosanto Academy with sleeping bags and mats. When all the classes were finished, we'd just throw out sleeping bags. Actually, that was me. Like Steve Mosley, he's a big Facebook kind of character. Yeah, so me, Steve Mosley, and Colin Sherrod were there, and I think Jamie Count came over a couple of times with us as well. But that was generally the three would go over there, and we'd just be like, you know, looking after each other and living out of each other's back pockets. Whoever had a bit of money was like, you know, buying lunch and stuff like that. What generally happened was Simipula and Guro would always invite us out for meals, and it was kind of like we're trying to be. They knew we didn't have much money, so they never charged us for anything, and they generally fed us and looked after us as well. You know, like when we went out there, they were so kind of cool with us. And then that's just, we just trained and trained and trained, and it was the best. You know, it was the best times. So that was, I had like 10 years of that.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. What part did you find the most interesting? Did you like the groundwork? Did you like the Filipino stuff more? The JKD, like the weapons?
It kind of changed. When I first started, I was heavily into, like, I really loved the Muay Thai, and Arjun Chai used to come over and do a seminar once a month, which was just scary, by the way. Arjun Chai went, it was just a scary character. I saw him just knock somebody out, like some person that was playing up outside the gym, and came in and played up in the, like, why would you do that at the end? But he was playing up, doing Bruce Lee kind of things, and Arjun Chai brought him inside and just knocked him out in front of everybody. And then woke him up and then knocked him out again. And it was like, oh, and it was just, you know, whatever he said, he just did. It's like, you know, because he was a very strict but very, very good Thai boxer, and I loved the Thai boxing. So yeah, Thai boxing for me was, you know, I just loved hitting stuff back then. And for me, sorry, my attack dogs. Hey,
from sleeping to attack mode.
Yeah. And so the other thing was the Kali for me. So not so much the JKD and Jun fan, the Kali and the Thai boxing I really fell in love with. At the same time, Savat, because I loved kicking stuff.
Like kicking people in the head.
Kicking people in the face. So Savat, we had Professor Selena Salih up there as well. He would be doing Savat classes as well. So I loved the Savat as well. But they were the main ones. And then just like, I think a year or two later, then we had the Shuto came in with Yuri Nakamura. Sensei Yuri Nakamura came in and started teaching Shuto. And so that was the next thing. It kind of led into sort of like what we have now with MMA. You know?
Sure.
So yeah. So that was the early days.
Fantastic. What about your competing days? And so obviously you're one of the first to compete in MMA. How did that all come about, and what was your experience of that like?
Yeah, so I mean, we were doing the training anyway, and we were training like what modern fighters would do anyway, because we just loved it. So like, it wouldn't be strange for me to go around and see Colin, my mate Colin, and we just do 15 rounds of Thai packs. It was just, and we did this most days because, you know, we didn't have proper jobs. We did have proper jobs. We worked doors basically. And so we were kind of quite, you know, well trained, I think. And then when the competitions came around, when we started getting invited to competitions, it was like, well, we might as well test it and have a go at it. And but I'll be honest, I wasn't big into the fighting side of it, but I really loved the training for fights, like with a couple of really close friends just getting in there and just really pushing each other. But if you had the fight at the end of it, then it kind of made the training a little bit better. What happened was fights generally turned out to be a bit of a disappointment, in so much as, oh, was that it?
In what way? In
so much as it wasn't really that hard. I'm not showing off or being big-headed, or because it wasn't that. I didn't mean that anyway. But usually you build up through your training camp so much that when the fight happens, it was all, oh, that's it then. It was all, it's just done. And you're like, and like, for example, when I had the British Total Fight Forum, when they had their the British title, it just seemed over before I even got started. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, can we not do it again, because that was like I was just warming up and it's finished. You know. So yeah, but in the fighting as well, I started off. I mean, I just got bored with different things as well. So like I boxed, and then I kickboxed, and then we started to have not really like MMA, but MMA type contests, because it hadn't really come out properly, and we just see what we could get away with the local council with. So I was like, what rules we could get away with and things. So
when was this? Was this what, early 90s or?
Yeah, like so, yeah.
So pre-UFC.
Oh yeah, back then it was kind of like some. Yeah, so when people ask you about your fight record, you go, well, you haven't had that many fights. So you say, well, to be honest, a lot of the fights they just weren't registered.
Yeah.
And because the rules were not like MMA rules now. Do you know what I mean? So, sure. I mean, there's ones where you could headbutt and things like that, you know.
Yeah.
And there was even ones where we weren't allowed to, and you just did it because it was good for a scrap anyway. But ones like you couldn't punch them in the face, but you could kick them in the face. And then you know, when you went to the ground, because the crowd didn't really understand ground fighting. It was like you had a minute and then you had to get up. No matter what, even if the armbar, you had the armbar, like, no, get up, because the crowd is starting to boo now because they're not educated like they are now. Do you see what I mean? So yeah, so that was that. So yeah, I just dabbled in different things and British titles, world titles I've won in that, and now it's next generation's coming through.
Yeah, amazing. So obviously you trained and then you did the competition side of it, and you also said that you did the door side of it. Did you find the transition then from the training to the door, did that fit well? Did you have to adapt what you were doing on the door? Did the training kind of fit in well with anyway?
That was just good practice.
Yeah.
So on the nightclubs as well. So different stages throughout the years. So I did nightclubs for about 11 years. And there was a stage before cameras where when there were fights, they were the person wanted they were after you. You're having a big scrap because there's no cameras, and they know if they were going to scrap with a doorman, then they're going to get a kicking off of them. So those scraps before cameras were quite tasty, and we also had like a lot of like the football coming in at the weekends as well. So it was. I mean, if you're into fighting, it was good times. And, I loved it. So yeah, it was good times. And then so originally, like I was a big fan of Ty and Carly, but the JKD stop hitting came in really quick for me. Back then, from working nightclubs, like stop hitting with the jab. I know people like do the fence and set up the rear hand, but for me, it was a heavy lead hand jab which just dropped people, and then generally a tie kick or something like that would finish it, or I'd move on to the next person. But the stop hit with the jab, and also our influence back then was like Rick Young, and Rick Young before. I mean, he's a big BJJ, known for his BJJ, but his boxing, his Thai boxing when he was younger was just ferocious. It was just unbelievable. And he was a role model for us because we were like kids and we were always kind of looked up to him.
Sure.
And his jab, I think he had like, I'm not sure what when his actual professional boxing career was like, but I heard his first 3 knockouts were with the jab. I mean, it was
wow.
He got jabs in, and that was it for me. It was like big lead hand jab with like drop step jab in, and that would be our stop hit. We had that timed. So yeah, so that they were the first 5 years, and then cameras came in and people started to go to prison. So after that, instead of a stop hit, it would be a trap. So it would still be a stop hit, but we would be like trapping the person straight away first of all, and then if it carried on kicking off, it didn't look like on camera that I just smacked somebody straight away. The stop hit, you preempt it all the time, and it was difficult to go, well, no, it was going to fight, and on camera, it doesn't look like it. It's like no, pre-contact cues were, you could tell.
Sure.
And once you had, fight after fight after fight, you can tell, like without a doubt, when it's going to go. So the stop hit would end it. So I would trap and offline, and then that's where the Carly came more back into it. So the first 5 years, it was more JKD Jun Fan going through somebody, and then the second 5 years, it was more about trapping and offlining. Really, was more of where it went. I mean, when the football was around, then it was just like the Alamo, and you just went after whoever was around. It was how they say, a target enriched environment. Good scrapping then. But that's how that changed for me in the martial arts. So it went Jun Fan direct to Carly offlining in the second 5 years of it. Yeah, it's a bit completely different now. I think if they push people, they're going to get sacked nowadays. So I wouldn't survive the modern nightclubs now. I don't think.
A few people have said that I've interviewed before, like people like Russ Jarman, Steve, said it's a completely different ballgame now. For people that have worked a long time on the doors previously in the 80s, 90s, even the early 2000s, now said no.
I wouldn't. I'd be getting into trouble one way or the other. Especially now I'm older as well, because I don't have the power or the kind of the snap to put someone down like in the early days. So
when did you start developing the Ghost system then? So obviously that's what you're known for. You're known for the MMA career, obviously being a full instructor under Guro Dan. When did you move away from the JKD and that at any point, or did you just decide to kind of go right?
No, that's a thing that, right, I'll bring this up briefly, but I can't talk too much about it. So regarding the Jeet Kune side, and people think, oh, like you left it, or it's like I've never left it. So there's people I work with which I can't talk about. So I have military contracts I work with, and there's other people I work with, which and for that side of it, I've been doing JKD from the start all the way through, like without doubt, and I still very much do. Even so much as the crowd that used to be with before, that very much. That's also why I came into that as part of my research, because I was doing some work for the military at the time, and so no, I've never left it. But people know me more for the sports side. So we have the combative elements, if you like, or the more kind of non-competitive fighting side of it, and then we have the sports side of it. Now, for me, publicly, I sell more publicly the sports side of it, and that's what that is. So the Ghost originally came about through a whole series of events. Yes, I had my experience of competing. Really funny thing came up the other day. Right? Someone goes, "Oh, the guy with the guy that's telling people how to not get punched in the face, he's got a pretty busted nose." I was like, yeah, of course, because obviously, if I knew that before I was competing in sport, maybe that wouldn't be the case now. So it was a reflection of after, as a result of one of my later fights, I got knocked out in my hometown in front of a home crowd, and I was headlining, against somebody that wasn't that good a fighter, but again, it's the game. I got knocked out, and as a result of that, that was one of the tipping points where they say, "Oh, you never lose, you learn." Well, no, mate, it twisted me. I made a whole system, right? It's like,
wow, that
was going again. And so there was a whole series of things that came, and light bulbs came, and that was one of them. Like some research, like I say, for the military, I was looking at their tactics and strategies, and they never go toe to toe. Not since Charge the Light Brigade. There's always a kind of a flanking or some sort of. And I was like, well, then why don't we do that in sport fighting? Like why do we do that? And I think a lot of it is because a lot of people that kind of will argue against it have never been in front of someone where you're going to get knocked out with their jab. Do you see what I mean? And when you start to put that value on it, that like, no, you will get killed with one shot, then you go, oh, now that's making me be more elusive. I'm not so keen to come in on the toe to toe and stand in front of somebody. So that happened. I had the Kali was a big influence for me, especially when the light bulb really clicked off on that side of it was Sifu Rick Fay was doing Numerada, which is just a weapons where you're usually in Numerada it's different size, but generally it's demonstrated a lot with a stick and a dagger, and they start to work around someone against a constant type of slow-mo attack. And I was watching that going, should be doing that in sport more, because they go usually in arts like even Savat Panatukan, you offline, right? Whereas like your Jun fan, your Wing Chun would go straight through. So you offline. But once they offline, they will offline on usually the first one, but then they'll be very combative and generally go straight back on or through that person, or they'll offline maybe twice, And I was like, no, we should just keep doing that. And how do I hit that with this hand and that hand and this foot? And how do I do it when my shape is not? It's not like this. It's like, oh, it's over here, or it's right over here now. How do I hit like that? And so originally with the Panatukan, you've got the Kali movement and the boxing, but it doesn't quite fit if you're continuously trying to offline. Sure. So that's why the Ghost came about. And originally we didn't have a name for it. And it was like competition Kali, or just stuff like that, because it was very Kali based. The early Ghost was very Kali based, without a doubt. And when people say, "Oh, you're just ripping off Kali," it's like, yeah, I guess I kind of am. No Kali people really doing it like we are, but yeah, I guess we are. Yeah, I'm definitely ripping off Kali, and that's because I'm a full instructor under Guro Dan Inosanto in Kali. So I'm gonna, it's gonna
make sense.
then as things changed, because then we started to put it into fights and pressure test it. I say we, I mean the boys, Jake and Exit, started to put it in fights. Then other things happened, and then it grew from there. So the development continued. It was Kali based initially in theory when we started, and then later on it developed, and other arts and systems I started nicking from, and and taking ideas from, and then put it together. We do have a unique technique, which I'm still waiting to see someone go, oh, it comes from here, or that comes from there. And the drive-by, I think is unique. And I've shown it to people like Guro Dan Inosanto, and you'll go, yeah, no, I've not seen it done that way.
Yeah.
So I'm still like, oh, we did make something. But you could look at Carly and go, well, that bit's from there, or that bit's from there, or So but nobody's put it together like this. Yeah. So with Ghost, no one's put it together like this before, and we've systemized it now. So that's how that came about. And that was 11, 12 years ago, I think, where we actually started to put it out and get a name for it. So it's not like, oh, I woke up and go, oh, Ghost. There was a decade of competing before that. There was 20 odd years of Carly John Fan before that.
Yeah.
And that development, and then understanding the principles of research and what have you, because I had a college. I was a college university. I went to university. I'm a college lecturer for 10 years. So understanding what we have to do to make this valid research and not just make up stuff.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Let's talk about Jake and X then. So obviously two of the kind of projects, people that have pushed Ghost forward, both in X was more MMA, and then Jake was more boxing.
Well, Jake was kickboxing originally. He was a kickboxer. Okay. He was a kickboxer. And he was just a kid. He was like, and so Jake was about 15 when we started making the Ghost program. And by then he was already a black belt in kickboxing with me at that time, and we were just changing it up. Jake, sorry, kids are still kicking around. Jake, he went up real quickly in competing because he just wanted to fight. And he went just like a local show to an area title to a British title. And within like 5 or 6 kickboxing fights, he'd won the Five Nations title, Five Nations belt. Over in, he beat the Irish champion in Ireland. On the, I think it was, I can't remember what it was, but that was his last kickboxing one, and we were getting shouts for him to also then go European. I was offered a European and a world title for him within a month of that fight. By then, I'd switched into boxing. Okay. And that was purely because of his health. So he got diagnosed as a celiac, having celiacs, really late, and he had that had ripped up all his stomach and what have you, and he had become a type 1 diabetic. Now, type 1 you're usually born with. You don't develop that later. Type 2 you develop later, but type 1, he became a type 1 because of what celiac had done to him, and it was undiagnosed. So he had all these allergies and all these, he was always telling to his mum, oh, I've got pains in my stomach, and they take him to the doctors and they go, no, there's nothing wrong with him. He's just, growing pains or what have you. But yeah, so he kind of, they were saying they were very lucky they caught him, because he was about to go into a kind of a coma just when they realized it was type 1. So because of that, the diabetes and because I was concerned about potential clots in his legs from maybe the kicking side of it, like taking a lot of kicking. Then I said, let's switch you out to boxing and put you in boxing. And so he's known for his boxing now. Yeah. If you saw it, because it was up, but way before that, no, he was flying in kickboxing.
Amazing.
And then Jake went. He's won. Goodness knows what he's won now in boxing, amateur boxing. He's won like amount of belts he's won is crazy. He won the English belt. He got GB trials. He went to the GB squad training. He's boxed for England, amateur. So he's done really, really well. And we've been trying to turn him pro for about a year and a half, nearly a year and a half, 2 years. COVID's put a big thing on that, but the diabetes put a big thing on it as well now, because because it's just another obstacle that's been thrown in there. And now he's got to have a disc which they attach onto him, which they have to scan between rounds to check his blood sugars.
Right. Okay.
So he's going through the process of it. There is one other box that's just done it, who's a type 1. So Jake's kind of following this guy has to, the sort of thing is hoops he has to jump through. But it's taken twice as long to go pro. He should have been fighting a year ago pro now. But so that's his next journey, is pro fighting, pro boxing. X was, in the MMA, and he tearing up the MMA, did really, really well in the MMA, and then blew a knee out in doing BJJ. Mm-hmm. And that's been a bit of a slow recovery. And he's just getting back into it now. Actually, he's training really well, and he's training up for another competition. But he's been out the game a while, like a year or two on that one with the knee, because he had to have reconstruction on his lateral. I'm not sure which one it was, but it might be the posterior collateral knee ligaments.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So and so he's going, and then we've got a couple of kids coming through now. They're coming through. They're doing boxing that have done really well in the amateur boxing scene at the moment. So that's the generation next, because X and Jake were really, they were testing it.
Yeah, sure.
they were like crash ghosters. Ghosters that didn't know any better, because they were young kids themselves. And I'll be like, right, and for me to test it, I just made sure whatever we did it in training a lot before the fight. And then they ended up doing it in fights. So, it does work. Or, oh my God, that didn't work. It goes both ways. It was testing. Whereas the generation, the two youngsters that are coming up are sort of like working off the back of all the testing, if you like, that Jake and X have done, and they're just lapping it up. And they're doing great now. So it's the generation after. So Jake and X have done really well. I mean, really, really well. Surprisingly well, considering it was testing. But the generation coming through after that, they're the one that will really benefit from the ghosting.
Amazing. Yeah, cool. How about COVID then? We'll talk about the C word. How's it affected you? How's it? You were doing a lot, weren't you? You were doing stuff for Lee Morrison. You were doing stuff that you said previously about certain stuff you can't talk about. Obviously, flying.
It's not like, I mean, I could talk about, like, for example, I was on the funny, when COVID first come in, I was sat in the cruise mess on a cruise ship, passenger ship, and it was going between Nagasaki and Tianjin in China, and Wuhan was about 2 hours. And I was going, well, that's only 2 hours away from there, when it just broke out at the time. So at the time I had various contracts with cruise ship companies as well. So I did the security teams on cruise ships. So they'd fly me out to a cruise ship. I would stay on the ship for a week or so, and train up their security teams, and then they'd fly me back. So in this case, it'd be like, different, like Nagasaki would be in and out there, or I've done, like Norway. I've flown into Norway, and they've gone in and then sent me out back at Germany, or I've flown back from Germany. So from whichever port I pick up the ship, I do 7 days, and then it'll either come back to that port or another country, and they'll fly me back from that country. So that I was doing a lot of work with that. Obviously, that completely come to a halt. We've got like four or five cruise ships out on the in the bay at Bournemouth at the moment. They're just sat there going, I could come out and train. So there's that work. There was other work as well for different security companies and organizations, all completely stopped because of COVID. To be honest, it wasn't a bad thing, because I was heading for a burnout. So it was a bit crazy. I've really enjoyed having the break. I'll be honest. It's nice to get going now, and I'm getting contracts are coming in now as well. So it's nice for them for all that to start up again now. But the break was really good, and it allowed me to finish the Ghost Online program. So if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have got that finished and out now. So I was just as busy, but just doing something else. Another side. And so now we're coming back into it with classes and things like that. We're obviously adapting like everybody else, but Ghost is perfect for keeping distance, because because again, originally, if you think about the long range ghosting, like the Kali, if you think about seminars that you've been to, it's all been not standing in front of
been
you.
Socially distant.
It's always been socially distant. The first principle of Ghost is staying out of no man's land. It's like, no, stay out of COVID land.
Yeah.
And we're working and flanking. And then if we bring, so what we're doing at the moment with the gyms, which work really well, is we follow the ABA, so they're not holding focus pads, so we won't hold focus pads. Yeah. But we're using the kind of the sticks and distance. And we can maintain a distance of just about 1.5 meters, and you're allowed to do 1 meter for 15 minutes currently. But we're over that. So between 2 meters and 1.5 meters, we can do that and offline. Yeah. So my ghosters are doing ghost movements and working around with the punches, and the person holding the sticks is almost like they're doing Kali. Yeah. So they're doing opposite or mirror techniques of what we're doing. Yeah. And they're all moving around doing their social distancing and it just works great. So Perfect. For us, it's not a bad
win. Yeah.
It's it's bad, but it's not that bad because we haven't got to we've got a whole program ready to go, and you just have sticks. You just have sticks and you're away. So it's been all right. And so the first part of the class is shadow work. The second part is you're doing the sticks. Third part is smashing heavy bags for power. It's going great at the moment.
Bish bash bosh. Yeah, amazing. Talk a little bit about the online programming, because obviously you've worked so hard for that, and it's been going on for a while now, hasn't it? But complete now, completely done.
Yeah, but year one, like Greg used to say, done.
Done is done. Yeah.
When you're done, it's done. So year one's done. It took 3 years to do it because I followed the deal, the way the deal guys put it together, because I just thought that was the best way it's been presented. So you've got your subject, and the subject's my baby, right? So it's I'm going to look after that baby as much as I can, and I don't want to just go boom, there you go, and it's been poorly videoed or poorly So we could have tried to get someone else to edit and do it, but you've got to pay them to do that, and even then they don't quite do it how you want it. And so this first one, I just did everything myself. I've had another person come in and help me with the camera work, but we planned it, we prepped it, we filmed it, I edited it. Each clip, so a clip is like 1.5 minutes, maybe 2 minutes max, took me between 3 and 4 hours to edit. There's 362 clips in that year one. And so I had to learn the process. I learned how to use editing software. So that was that. So when we say, it took you 3 years to do 1 year, it's like, well, is year 2 going to take that long? It's like, no, I got it now. Not only have I got it now, but I can now probably pay people to edit it for me, or at least do a lot of the dog work on that and get it done. So it's not such a problem, and it's going out quite nicely now. I'm really pleased with the results, the way it's going out.
What's the aim for? Is it for students? Is it for instructors? Is it for people that are teaching other stuff now that want to incorporate Ghost into what they're doing?
So right now I put that out as a student one, but because it's like there's pad work, there's sparring drills, there's the technical side of it, there's the vault, which is like just seminar clips and what have you, then it probably ticks the box of everybody that possibly goes that might be interested. And as far as instructors are concerned, it's like, no, there's year one. Not only is that year one, that's year one with a progression every week. So really, it's probably 2 years. Probably 2 years worth of work there if you're going to teach it. I mean, easily, without a doubt. So very intense, very thorough. Glad it's done. I'm really glad it's done. I'm having a little bit of a break for another month or so, and then we start get year 2 down.
Year 2.
Out of the way. Plus, I've got a couple of other projects which are being filmed and coming out, because we've got tier 1 now. I can film all the time. Whereas before, I was filming it on the Sunday with Phoenix MMA, which was just a great gym. That's kind of, they looked after us. When I closed my old gym down, we went to Phoenix MMA, and they've pretty much let us. They've been so hospitable with us. They've just let us train the fighters and work there and film there. So I was filming in there, but on a Sunday, I could get in there and just film for the whole day. And then the rest of the week, I'm editing, because it's like 3 hours a clip and, like that. But now with tier 1, I can film every day if I want.
Got the full-time place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in the middle of a global pandemic, decided to get a full-time martial arts academy.
Exactly. It's great. It's interesting because also I'm working with some stunt guys, helping them get ready. So yesterday we were helping with stunt fights and things like that. We were filming that, and yeah, I've got a gym where we can do it and smash into walls and smash into mats and do stuff that you don't want necessarily the public to see, you know, and what have you. So yeah, that's been good as well. So it's good to have a place. It's good to have a place. Yeah.
Good stuff. What's the plans then for the future? You kind of touched on it a little bit, so maybe the next 6 months to a year.
Yeah. So just I'm re-establishing all that contract work a bit more. I've got a Padawan in that side of it now, for the military guys and security teams. I actually have another support training team that help us get ready when I go and do work at different places. So a bit like a Jeet Kune X for the Ghost. I've got that for let's call it the JKD side of it.
Sure.
So for that side as well. So I've developed that, and I'm pushing that a bit more with a team. So we're meeting up with this team at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, just to go through different contract work that I've got coming up.
Yeah.
And to a point where I'm 52 now, and you know, it's nice to the John Mortimer's the Padawan in this other side of it, and I can bounce him everywhere, and he gets up, doesn't bitch, and he's good to go. So I'm looking at him pushing that out more later, and me taking a step back on that side of it and overseeing that side of it, just basically because I'm getting older now, and I don't want to be bounced around by people anymore.
Yeah.
When I go and work with military and what have you, it's not so bad now, but when I was with them like 11, 12 years ago, when I started, you got tested every time, which is fair enough because the consequences were quite serious for them. And so it's fair enough. And so, yeah, I used to rock with any new teams we worked with all the time. Now I don't have to do that because I've been with everyone knows me now, and that's good. And so now I can bring some people in now to help me with it, and I can just step back on it. I don't have to prove it anymore, you know, so that's good.
Yeah.
So bumping him up on that one. The gym's still got it going. It's a weird one. We just kind of had the stunt thing happen. I was working with some people about just a year ago, I think. They maybe 9 months ago. They just wanted to the Treadstone TV series and things like that. And then I'm just working with some guy. There's something called Halo, I think a movie. He's getting involved in that, and so we're training people to get ready to go off and do these, make these films. So that might be something that kicks in again. But for all these things to happen, I can't fully immerse in one particular thing. So I have to manage it. So I think I'll be going back into a kind of a managing role. Jake will be punching the Ghost out more side again, because they're younger, they're fair. They make it look better than me anyway. So just let them roll with that. And then this other friend of mine is going to help me with my other contract work and probably develop more of a team on that side of it as well.
Sure.
And then that frees me up for, to work with the stunt guys and what have you, which again, is a giggle for me. It's a giggle.
Yeah, just fun.
And it's all about being a giggle. I want to go and see more people and be around more people like Bob Breen. I just want to have some more time with these people. I'd like to go over and see Guru more and, Steve Rick Fay. Just go and check out more people and hang with more people. I think that's the stage where I just want to go enjoying it again more, just kind of be around just nice, cool people who I can just, share with and feel good about being around, and not necessarily do the teaching. I'd like to just be a student again. Do you know what I mean? I'd like to be a student, because a lot of time I'll just go somewhere and then they'll look at me to teach, and I'll be like, I'd like to just step back and just kick around with you guys and see what you guys do, So yeah, that's my next plan, if you like.
Sounds good.
Yeah. You're all good. So how are you doing?
Yeah, all good. So yeah, just trying to get through the next little stage and things, I suppose. So yeah, but we're back open and things like that. But it's a little bit different, but it is what it is, I suppose, isn't it? So at the moment, I think every martial arts instructor is going to be.
And so how are you finding? Oh, we've got thunder coming up here.
Oh, is it starting?
Yeah, it's starting to come in. It sounds cool. It's rolling, starting to roll in. So how did you see the difference? Because having a group before and then how it is now, did you find a big loss, or did the Zoom keep it going for you? Or
we kept it going through Zoom. Like when did we break it? We went in line with the schools with our classes. So when the schools kind of closed, we then kind of went, we're going to stop for a little while, and then we did some pre-recorded content just for people on YouTube, and then after that it was just 2 days after we were on Zoom, just doing like workouts 3 times a week, kids classes 2 times a week, trying to mirror what we were already doing basically, because we thought the kids have already stopped, haven't they? Like their routine's just gone to shit, so at least we can keep some consistency with the routine for the parents of just, right, Tuesday's going to be their class, 4 to 6 at 5 o'clock, 7 to 13, whenever. Thursday's the same thing, workouts in the morning. You can kind of build their timetable around that, I suppose, and then fit your homework in there, and it's good. And then we've had like parents join up and things as well, just from training with us that haven't trained before. So before, maybe they'd sit on the sides and then just watch it, or be on phones or whatever. Whereas now they're kind of getting involved because they had to during Zoom, like holding the pads or holding the cushions or doing whatever.
Yeah.
Now they're like, oh, I want to come back and train now. So it's like,
because they can, right? Because like the only way you can have pads is if it's I'm going to shut these doors because the rain's coming.
It's starting.
Oh, it's really good. It's been so hot.
It's going to break the humidity a little bit, I think, hopefully.
It's been hot.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But yeah, it's just adapting, the same as any other martial artist, I think, around the country, around the world at the moment. You've just got to adapt to it and just do it.
How's your online? You just got your breakfalls going out. How's that going?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it was just something, again, that I just decided to put out there. I thought, it's something that could be done socially distanced.
It's a good idea. Really good idea.
Put it out. I thought, I think it's a good skill to learn no matter what you're doing, if it's BJJ, MMA, jiu-jitsu, like anything. I think it's a good skill to learn.
My wife just fell on the decking about 2 months ago and broke her heel bone, her tibia, fibula, and her ankle. Just by tripping on it, I was like, damn. It's funny because I think your thing came out like a week later or something like that. I was like, this is just last night. Everybody needs to know this kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to fall over and slip. But yeah,
exactly.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much for your time, Phil. I really appreciate it as always. And hopefully we'll catch up when the world get back to some semblance of normality. And you can get back on the seminar circuit and stuff. And
thanks for having me.
All right. No problem. Thank you.